We'll call this meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. I want to acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory and that the land on which we are meeting is the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. As a council and a municipality, we will continue to work on moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Could I have an adoption of the minutes, please?
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on March 13th, 2023 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Espy, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no delegations this evening. We do have a public hearing for a request for variation PC 10-23 Melco Developments Limited. Is there anyone present to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone present to speak against the application? Any letters to be read out?
No, there are none.
Is there any comments or questions from council before we close the public hearing? No? Then I'll pass it on to Councillor Meyer.
First of all, we'll call for a motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation PC 1023, Melco Development Limited, lots 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18, Sharon Place, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Massey. All those in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, Council, just in front of you is a request for variation from, as Madam Mayor indicated, from Melco Developments Limited, and it's just to vary the front yard requirement. In the development agreement, 7.5 meters is what the development agreement is supposed to be, and they want to reduce it down to 6, and it's typically just to allow for a uniform look within the subdivision, and then, of course, have some of the benefits of the larger backyards. There is a site plan there for your consideration, and of course a sketch that shows you exactly the details of what it's about. Applicants have applied for in the past, received very similar variations, same scenario, and your minute references are there for your information as well. They are in an R1, residential single family zone, and that's why it's coming to council. So the application has been circulated to various city departments. There have been no concerns. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and as you can see, there are no objections. So with that said, and it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Melco Developments Limited to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced down to 6 meters to allow a uniform look in the subdivision and larger rear yards at the properties known as 10, 12, 14, 18, and on the other side of 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and 17, Sharon Place, which is legally described as lots 6 to 9, Block 2, Plan 53601, and lots 8 to 14, Block 3, Plan 53601, in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments from council? All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll move into Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, thank you, Your Worship, and colleagues on council. We have before you the audit service plan. As you know, last committee meeting, this was tabled for you to look at. The issue today is that we are to pass a resolution to adopt the audit service plan to meet our deadlines for the audit. The city has engaged BDO LLP as our external auditor to provide the audit process to review the city's financial processes and prepare the audited year-end consolidated statements. And I think I mentioned in committee, but I just want to highlight again for council that this audit, there's a new feature now, the Canadian Audit Standard 315, and I think this is really important that it's going to identify in a special way, extra way, the risks that we may or may not have as a city on controls that we have, on things that financially I think will be really important for council to understand when we get the report. So there is an extra fee for this new standard that will be developed of $9,100, but I think it's going to give council a really good idea if there are any weaknesses in our control systems. And as the mayor said last meeting, generally we've been very good on a lot of this stuff, but it's just another check for us this year that they will do some extra work to make sure we have all the standards in place and controls that we need. Because municipalities are very much under the microscope by the public, and we want to make sure that our financial statements are transparent and sound. So therefore, administration's recommending, and I would move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the audit service plan with BDO LLP for the completion of the 2022 financials and consolidated financial statements.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Is there any questions or comments? Councillor Meyer?
Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. And just a follow-up question on that. This isn't something we have a choice on, if I'm right in understanding. I just wanted clarification of that. It's part
Like
of legislation. It's something that needs to be done no matter what the circumstances are.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, you're right. This is a new standards. It's by the professional, the accountant's profession, that it's not legislative necessarily by the province. It's put out by the accounting industry, but it will give us, I think, a really good understanding to make sure that our controls are in place. I think it's probably coming out of a lot of things that have happened over the years with some municipalities, and I suspect a lot of the good controls are going to be here in Portage and talking to our staff, but it's another good check. So I think it's money well worth spending.
But just to clarify, it's something we don't have a choice on, actually.
Right.
Anyways, okay. So and I agree with Councillor Massey on that. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. The City and Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing left at this point, but there are a few new businesses and some deferred business later down in the agenda.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Community Services Committee has nothing to report at this point of the meeting.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. What we have in front of you in your package today is a report that was brought to committee last meeting, and what it is surrounding is the Public Water Systems reports for 2022. They're all there. The packages are there. They're well done, very well described, and very well written. The data and the analytical piece to it is very well done, and thank you for that from our Waterworks folks and administration operations. The issue here is acceptance of the 2022 Public Water System Annual Report and the 2022 Water Treatment Plan Data Report. The Department of Manitoba Conservation and Climate Environment Stewardship Division requires an annual public water system report to be submitted and posted publicly online, which will happen. Once accepted by council, the report will be posted on the city's website. Administration has also prepared the 2022 Water Treatment Data Report. So I so move that the administrative recommendation is that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie accept the 2022 Public Water System Annual Report and the 2022 Water Treatment Annual Data Report, and authorize administration to move forward same to the Manitoba Conservation and Climate Environment Stewardship Division and post reports on the city website. So move.
Moved by Councillor Nichols, seconded by Councillor Porter. Any questions or comments on those? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation Committee has nothing to report until further down under the new business.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Safety Committee has nothing to report in council tonight.
Thank you. We have an item of deferred business, a request for variation PC 7-23, Hope's Journey Home Inc. at 687 Tupper Street. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a result, if council members, of course, this was deferred last council meeting, so there will be no public hearing on it. As a result, that was part of it was already completed. The deferral process indicated that council wanted a little bit more information on it, so before I get into the report, I trust that council has received the new sketch that showed up about what's 5 pages here that gave you all the details in relationship to the land, the size of the building, the location, and everything as well. So trusting that council has all the information they were looking for. The issue, again, just to reiterate it so that we're all on the same page, is what the request is just a variation at this point. So the variation is to reduce the front yard requirement, which was 9.1 meters, to be reduced to 2 meters. The south side yard requirement of 3 meters to be reduced to 1.5 meters. The north side yard requirement of 3.6 meters to be reduced to 1.7 meters. The side coverage requirement of 40% to be increased to 53.4%, and rear yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced down to 7 meters. The background hasn't changed. The only new piece of information was what was supplied from our planning district. But I do want to reiterate as well that the building is in an already R3 residential multifamily zone. The application had been circulated to the various city departments. There had been no concerns. Public notices have been all sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and I know we read those objections at last council meeting. So to get it on the floor again, the administrative recommendation, and I so move, I'm just going to repeat it again, that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Hope's Journey Homes, Inc. to vary the following: the front yard requirement of 9.1 meters to be reduced to 2 meters, the south side yard requirement of 3 meters to be reduced to 1.5 meters, the north side yard requirement of 3.6 meters to be reduced to 1.7 meters, the site coverage requirement of the 40% to be increased to 53.4%, and the rear yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced down to 7 meters at the property known as 687 Tupper Street North, which is legally described as lots 893, 894, 895, Plan 66 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any questions or comments on anything? Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that I did have concerns last meeting, and I have taken a look at the design, and I no longer have those concerns. And just remind everyone that we are voting on the variation, not whether or not this goes in that particular location. And my concerns have all been addressed.
Thank you.
And Your Worship, I'd like to add too that through Planning District, the information that was provided to me, I had some concerns, and when I saw what I was clarified, I'm in favor of the motion.
Excellent.
Thank you to Planning.
Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'm not going to reiterate how I spoke in favor of or support of it last council meeting, but I just want to reiterate the one fact that, I just want to recognize the fact that we all take citizen concerns into consideration, and I think it plays a role in each one of our minds when we move forward or against any kind of a decision. I do want to recognize I did receive a couple of letters from in addition to those ones that were addressed to myself, and I just want to recognize the fact that those were received, right, and that the information was there. So at this point in time, I still vote, I still speak in favor of it based on the variation of what they need in order to get this project completed. Thank you, Your Worship.
Anyone else? All those in favor? And that's carried. New business. We have our 2022 year-end financial statements. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship and colleagues. Now that we've approved the audit plan, these are your year-end financial statements that require approval that we will be providing to the auditor. As you can see, our year-end came out pretty good. We are, in our general fund, we've are showing a surplus of $1,060,000. And you can see where those surpluses were found: RCMP-related expenditures, some interest, bylaw enforcement revenue was up, and $500,000 in other surpluses, which were attached to the appendix of this report. Under the utility fund, we've come in at a surplus of $1,094,800. This was primarily due to increased water and sewer revenue of $688,000. Again, some interest earned due to higher interest rates and some other surpluses of $285,000. For the general fund, excluding Saskatchewan Avenue, and if you recall in our budget, the Saskatchewan Avenue is accounted for and not part of this. Due to good planning of the previous council and this council and the funding we've received, this is not part of this. That's all been accounted for. There is $3.3 million in capital requests for 2024 on the 10-year capital plan. So it's recommended that the surplus of the general reserve be allocated to the general reserve as part of the 2024 budget process to be used for future projects. So we're putting the surplus now in for future projects for next year. We're already looking at next year's budget. For the utility fund, there is $14.6 million in capital requests for 2024, including major plant upgrades, and we've seen those plans. And so again, the administration's recommending that the surplus of the utility reserve be allocated to the utility reserve, as part of the 2024 budget process to be used for future projects. So taking these good surpluses that we've got at year end, putting them into these accounts for next year's capital program, which we'll be considering in next year's budget. You have in Appendix A the variance explanations of $50,000 or greater by division to the budget, and that's in there for your information and review. Administration recommendation, and I would move that the Council of City of Portage la Prairie approve the 2022 pre-audited financial statements.
Moved by Councillor Massey, seconded by Councillor Meyer. Any questions or comments on those? I'll just make a comment that, you often around the table when we see a surplus, we're like, okay, well, where are we spending that money right now? I think that's one thing that the city administration and previous councils have done really well, and one reason that we're in financial positions that we are is that we do dedicate things to reserves, and we do very good capital planning. And so by doing this with these reserves and sometimes being cautious in our spending, we might get criticized that we're too cautious at times, but that it puts us in great position for future years. So we just want to explain that when we do have or excess. What's the word? Surplus. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. New business, February building report. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, it goes without saying, this is probably one of my favorite parts when we do talk about the permits that do happen, because it does show shovel in ground and, importantly, of what's happening within our economic base. So, as usual, Council, you'll see two building reports there, one for the city, one for the RM, and we can certainly discuss those, but I always refer to the regional one. As a result, we look at it from a regional perspective. So just comparable month over month, compared to last month, it's gone up significantly in dollar value. The permits are up 33% from where they were last year, in a year that we didn't really expect a ton of stuff to happen, but we do know things are starting to move ahead. And I really only want to point out two things. One is that even though the permit number is up 33%, the value of the permits went from the 1 million to just over 12 million, so it's significant. That, of course, is due to the institutional news, so that is obviously would be the hospital. So I'm just going to actually ask Your Worship if our, I guess would be interim chair of Planning District, can just speak to just kind of how these, real quickly, how these permits fare out, because that would be related specifically to the hospital, would it not?
Yeah, there's the one permit for just over $10 million.
Yep.
Over the $10 million is for the hospital piles, and then we'll phase that permit in because it's just a large project. So we'll do, next one will be for the foundation, the concrete work, then the structure and so forth.
Got it. So what that leads me to believe is we'll certainly see a large increase based on an institutional perspective as well. Thank you very much there, Mr. Fraser. And secondly, just that there was new commercial development start as well. So things are still happening. Portage is still moving along. And as we say now, it's time to keep the foot on the gas pedal. If there's no questions, that is the end of my report.
I just have a comment. We just on that, and it falls under here, is we were at the hospital open house or whatever they called it. I don't remember what it was called. But when I spoke to them, they commented on how much of a pleasure it was to work with you, Randy. So thank you for that, we're excited about the hospital, so we're happy people in our team are making it easy for them, so thanks. Okay, thank you, Councillor Meyer. New business, we have first reading of bylaw 23-8751, a zoning amendment for PC 14-23, CHB Developments, Inc., Burnison, 415 5th Street, Northeast. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. And of course, the issue tonight is just to start the zoning amendment and the first reading. As we know, anytime anybody applies for a rezoning application, it goes through 3 readings. Tonight will be the first. Then it'll actually go to the province for comment. The province really doesn't say yes or no at that point, but they do supply any comments that we certainly listen to. And then it also has to go for public notice. So that's the first thing that's happening after if the first reading is passed. So the background, of course, the property in question is 414 5th Street Northeast, which is described as lots 811, Block 1, Plan 365 in the parish of Portage la Prairie. Currently, it is zoned as an R1, which we know is residential single-family zone, and the applicants wish to rezone it to R2. The rationale for that is they'd like to build a side-by-side duplex on the property. So the development plan states a variety of different things, and this, of course, fits within the development plan that we have. The application, after I mentioned, will be circulated to the province for review and comment after the first reading. And as per Section 74(1) of the Planning Act, Council shall indicate its intention to enact a zoning bylaw amendment by giving first reading and then proceed with a public notice as set out in Section 168. The first reading of bylaw number 23-871 starts this process and then goes forward from there. So the administrative recommendation, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie give bylaw number 23-8751 first reading, and that public notice be provided as defined in Section 168 of the Planning Act.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any comments or questions on this? I, for one, just like to see infill development, you know, when we have a lot that could be for one family, now it's for 2, so we need more of that in Portage la Prairie, so well done. All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll move into another item of new business, first reading of bylaw 23-8752, zoning amendment PC 15-23, Jeffries McCutcheon, 152 3rd Street, Southeast, City Planning and Economic Development Committee.
Just a point of order, Your Worship. I must declare a conflict in this matter and ask to be recused.
Thank you. Make note that Councillor Espy stepped out. Councillor Meyer.
Excuse me. Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. This is exactly the same as what we just had in relationship to the first reading. Just to rezone, the difference being, of course, it's a different property, different area, and this one is originally zoned OR, or what we define as open space or recreational zone. And what they'd like to do, the applicants, would be to rezone it to R2 residential. So it is more, again, infill housing or development on an existing lot. So the Portage la Prairie Development Plan states the following, which this would fall into as well. The application, if first reading is passed, will be circulated to the province for review and comment after first reading. I want to point out to council that there is the sketch there for 152 3rd Street Southeast, and I'll also give you a schedule of exactly where it's located. So if the first reading is passed, as I mentioned, it will go to the province for review and then comment after, and of course public notices would be enacted. The first reading of bylaw number 238752 will commence the process as defined in the Planning Act in considering the application. So it's this committee's recommendation that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie give bylaw number 238752 first reading, and that public notice be provided as defined in section 168 of the Planning Act. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Meyer, seconded by Councillor Nichols. Any comments or questions from anyone? All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. We have an exciting item of new business tonight. It is the award RFP for a new childcare facility service provider, and that's Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just some background on this one. The province of Manitoba is providing a capital funding grant to develop new childcare spaces and a new childcare center in partnership with John Q. Public Inc., JQ Built Inc., and the City of Portage la Prairie. The city passed a resolution on November 14th, 2022 to enter into a financial assistance agreement with the province of Manitoba. JQ Built Inc. was established by the board of John Q. Public Inc. to develop a replicable process for facilitating the development of community infrastructure with local governments across Manitoba. The city passed a resolution on December 12th, 2022 to enter into a general service agreement with JQ Built Inc. On November 15th, 2022, JQ Built Inc. issued a public request for proposal for licensed nonprofit childcare service organizations to operate the daycare facilities in 9 communities as identified by the province's Early Learning and Childcare Program. On December 12, 2022, JQ Build Inc. submitted the proposals from We World Daycare Inc. and Portage Daycare Center Inc. to operate the childcare facility in the city of Portage la Prairie. On December 12, 2022, a joint subcommittee representing the city and the RM of Portage la Prairie evaluated all received proposals as indicated above and found the proposal from We World Daycare Inc. to score higher than others based on the selection criteria as already determined and indicated in the public RFP. Early Learning and Childcare Division has reviewed the application of We World Daycare Inc. and has no concerns from a licensing perspective. It is the recommendation, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie accept the proposal from We World Daycare Inc. as the child care service organization to operate the child care facility in the City of Portage la Prairie and authorize the city manager to negotiate and sign a lease agreement with We World Daycare Inc. that addresses the following: 15 years rent-free to We World Daycare Inc., the City of Portage la Prairie and RM of Portage la Prairie to provide building support services, maintenance, and repairs, the City of Portage la Prairie and RM of Portage la Prairie to provide site maintenance, snow clearing, and grass cutting, We World Daycare Inc. to pay for utilities.
Moved by Councillor Espy, seconded by Councillor Doyle. Any questions or comments? Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. I certainly have nothing against the recommendation. I guess the only question I have, just to clarify, is that we do know that 15 years of rent-free. So to clarify my understanding, the provincial government is supplying all the operating costs for that facility for the full 15 years. So there's no onus onto We World Daycare for that period of time.
They
Oops, sorry.
So with, tell me your question, is that,
Sorry, 15 years rent-free. Who's paying the rent?
oh, the province?
The province. It
Yes.
comes. That's what I mean. So
Yes,
okay, yeah.
sorry,
So I just wanted to be clear that it's not the city of
not the
Portage.
city, no.
Correct.
No,
That the city of Portage la Prairie is not paying the rent on it.
Correct.
That it's the operating funds that come from the province for the full 15 years.
Correct.
And then it's renegotiated or whatever it is at the end of that period of time.
Correct.
Got it. That was the only question I had. Just one real quick comment. We've talked about it many times, Council. Our relationship with the RM, again, I believe is a standard across the province that many municipalities look towards. And this really is just another example of the relationship that we have with the RM and being able to get facilities, infrastructure, operational items done within our region. So all it does is make our region stronger. So I certainly I will certainly speak in support of it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? I just thought I'd make a comment. I was not involved in this process, but I have had discussion with some of the people that were, and I just think it's important to remember that we have selection processes and there's always grading to do things. We have two very exceptional child care providers in our community, and it could easily go either way. It could have gone either way to those, and I just wanted to point that out because it's hard when you have to choose between one or the other, and that's why we have these processes in place. But kudos to them all for doing the great job they do in our community. All those in favor? That is carried. New business. We award tender for supply of loader. Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue today is the award of the supply of a loader tender 23 OPS 005. Alternative is to do not award the tender, or second, award the tender to one of the following. There's a chart that's included, and the analysis is that this tender was advertised on Merck's and the city's webpage. All major companies were called and informed of the tender. 11 tender packages were either picked up at the operations department or emailed out upon request. The above 10 companies submitted packages on or before the closing date and the time of Tuesday, March 14th at 2 p.m. 2023. All of the above pricing includes both taxes. 2 bid submissions did not meet the specs and were not suitable for our use. Both units were higher in price as well. The low bid that meets all the specifications is from Mazer Group and is for the supply of a 2023 Hyundai HL940A loader. This is the same loader as already purchased. They have a three-year, 3,000-hour warranty, which is of great benefit as the city has had failure issues with some recent equipment purchases that have been luckily been covered under warranty. Their net bid less GST totals $269,432.57. Their trade-in price offer of $84,267 net of GST leaves their price $15,000 under the budget allotment of $200,000. The city has purchased equipment from Mazer Group in the past and has received good service. So it is the administration recommendation, and I so move that the City of Portage la Prairie award the tender of the supply of the loader as specified in tender 23 OPS 005 to the Mazer Group for the tender price of $282,904.29, including taxes, and accepts the trade-in offer of $88,480 for the city 213 case 621F loader from the Mazer Group, leaving the final purchase price of $194,424.29, including all taxes and FOB Portage.
Moved by Councillor Porter, seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on that? Councillor Massey?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just maybe more for administration, and but maybe the chair knows the answer. Interesting that the price and the trade and how it plays out. Have you had situations where the trade-in is quite a bit higher, but the price of the machinery, the new machinery, is lower? Like what sort of, is it just the bottom line is the net amount? Is that the final way it's awarded? Or, because in this case it's pretty obvious Mazer Group is the one that we're going to choose, but it appears so. But I've never thought about the net, the trade-in part of it. Does that happen often, that the trade-in could actually be more valuable to us? Or just give me a little bit on that. I know it's a question that just on my mind about how this works.
Ms. Lekir-Jobin?
So, sometimes there'll be 2 prices that are very close, but one will offer a much higher trade. So we generally will just go with that net price though. As long as everything's all meeting the specs, that's how we would make that decision.
Okay, thank you.
Just for council's information, you may wonder, why has this come to this table? Because we do have, stipulations as to how these things are awarded. And typically anything like this that is under the 200,000 threshold, that our city manager has ability to just pass that. And it did come under that with the trade-in value, but to meet our audit standards, that because the purchase price was well over that, then that's why it came to our decision. So you won't see a lot of these, but now you can say you're involved in purchasing a loader. So, all those in favor? And that's carried. We have no old business, so we'll call this meeting adjourned at 6:37 p.m. And we'll move right into committee. We'll call committee to order at 6:37 p.m. Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Finance and Legislative and Property Committee has nothing to report in committee.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. City Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing to report, but would just ask the question of council if there's any of my trusted colleagues that have anything to bring up in regards to any committees that they may sit on in regards to city planning and economic development.
Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick update for council. Our mayor and I met with the chamber as part of our regular meeting with the Portage Chamber. And as a new councillor, I want to say that I'm very impressed by our chamber. They come forward with good issues, good solutions, not just problems, but solutions. And we talked about a number of things around Saskatchewan Avenue. We talked about economic development and so on. And I just, for me as a new councillor, I thought we have a really good stakeholder group there that works with us. And I was just quite impressed. And I think coming out of that meeting, there's always follow-up. But the dialogue as the chamber rep on council is excellent. I really was impressed with the way they handled themselves. So just for councils and as those issues come forward, of course, they'll come to this table at some point. But we work with them early on in processes. And, I think it's a great partnership in hearing from our chamber. So kudos to them.
Thank you. I'll just comment on that too, Councillor Meyer. And a couple of things is that we are working closely with them on doing a construction update for the business community on Saskatchewan Avenue, that the date and time will be announced shortly, but it will be in April. And we think that that's important, that that information gets out all the time. Keep everybody informed on what's going on. And then to our operations department, the chamber just wanted to give a little kudos as well to the outdoor rinks and how they were maintained this year. And the comment especially was the one in front of Red River College, and they said, I think they used the word exceptional, and that it was used quite a lot. So just kudos to the operations department, whoever took care of that. So thank you.
And that's all I have in committee, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Community Services Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'll take this opportunity to just echo that because the outdoor rinks were something that was near and dear to my heart and something we worked on for a very long time to bring back under the city's watch. And every time I drive by one, it gives me a lot of pride to see that those are still being maintained by the city and used heavily. So it's nice to see. And in that vein, the Parks Committee actually had a meeting last week, and we are still raising funds to finish off Simplot Central Park, which is about 10 years in the making. It took us about 8 years of that to get an interactive fountain built there, but now we're working on the next phase. We just had a successful 50-50 draw, and we are finishing off fundraising for the skate park, which we still have a ways to go. So we will be out there actively fundraising continually until that's finished. And we're optimistic that we are within finishing that project completely before the end of this council's term. So there's that.
That's awesome.
And I would also like to invite anyone else that has anything related to Community Services Committee and your subcommittees to jump in here.
Councillor Doyle?
It's me. Forgive me if this doesn't fall under community service, but I have been to 4 events at Prairie Fusion Arts Center in the last 5 weeks, and for those of you who don't go there very often, we really have a gem in our city. It is an excellent venue with excellent acoustics. It's comfortable. It's very well run, and I just think that if you're looking for something to do, they've always got something on the go. And I've just really enjoyed all the events I've attended there in the last few months. So thank you.
Anyone else? Did it fall under there? Yeah, sure did. Sure did. Anything else? Oh, Councillor Massey.
Thank you, and to thank you, Your Worship, and Chair Espy. Just want to report to Council, our library board had our strategic planning session, had 2 good sessions on our strat plan, dealing with our vision, our mission, and then sort of a very comprehensive plan of what we want to see happen with our library vis-a-vis our community. And I give kudos to the facilitator from the province. She was excellent, Ms. Kowalski, and our library director, Jen Kendall, as well, for preparing our board and having good discussion. I think we've got a plan. It will be made available in public as soon as our board has signed off on it, which will be in April, and then I'd be pleased to share that. But a continuation of our good work at the library. It is really starting to be in our community as a place to be, and you know, there are some challenges still, but boy, they sure are working hard on behalf to make our library a great facility that we can be proud of in Portage la Prairie. So I'll share that with Council as soon as our library board has signed off on the strat plan. But I think you'll find there's a lot of work that they're doing over the next few years. So thank you, Your Worship.
Great. Councillor Espy, is that all?
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Waterworks Committee does have, and you'll see in your package here, a report to council. And what that is I'm tabling this report that's wonderfully done by our management group. And this is to do with the 2022 wastewater treatment division annual report. So you have that in your, and we'll look at that again next meeting, but have a look through it, and there's some really good information there. The other part that I'd like to, is if there's anything for Waterworks Committee that anyone would like to share, that would be wonderful.
Councillor Porter.
Yes, I have something here. I just want to thank Carly Friesen here for your thorough tour around the water treatment plant, the water pollution control facility, and the new utility building. It was very educating. Councillor Joe Massey and I got to go on just about a 2-hour tour of both places, and it was quite an eye-opener to see how everything works, and give kudos to you and your staff, and thank you for your dedication and your strive for excellence. And it's unbelievable how they treat the water, and how it's processed and sent and discharged back to the Assiniboine River. I mean, it was something I've never experienced before, but to see. But it was very educating for myself, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that tour.
Your Worship, thank you. I will also echo those comments by Councillor Porter. And you know, when I was not on council, I did like a lot of people. I turned the tap on at home or took a shower, and it just magic. Water came out. And now I see what's involved and what our staff do and the excellent professional way they handle our water. That's our future. And kudos to you and your staff, Carly. It was a real eye-opener for me. And as finance chair, I really understand now the investments, why we're making them in those projects. So thank you very much.
I'm just going to say Councillor Wall would be very proud of this conversation.
Amen to Councillor Wall, absolutely.
Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just kind of refers to this, and I'm not sure whether, I know we have an acting city manager tonight, so I'm certainly not going to put her on the spot. But we do have our water people. We did a lead study a while back, which all passed and everything went well, and the report was very well presented. But the only question I have, and that maybe people are not aware, there's still a number of houses, and maybe they're older houses, that still have lead servicing coming in. Obviously, that's the property owner's responsibility in order to replace that. But am I under the understanding that the city has a program to help participate in that? Does that still exist? I just want to kind of get it out there. If there was, because it's just top center of mind, obviously there's probably still, you won't have the number that has that, but.
No, there is more information on our website, but the city does have a subsidy program that if you wanted to replace a portion of the service line from basically the city's main into your house, that helps to cover some of that portion. The city also tries to kind of economize that when we're already doing work on your street. Already there to kind of allow the homeowners or notify them that if they wanted to take advantage of that while we're already doing the work, that they'd be able to do that rather than have crews mobilized just for their house. So, yeah, but there's lots of information on the website, or they can give us a call.
Perfect, you betcha. And I just hope that maybe the media can pick up on a bit of that to let people be aware that that program is in place, especially for health and safety issues.
Yeah, hopefully they can. And just so you know, we're having some technical difficulty, but this is our last meeting with these speakers, or these microphones, hopefully, so thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Council. I would like to thank the Operations Department for a tour that I had in their facilities and buildings too. It was very informing and very much enjoyed. Thank you. And that concludes my report for committee. If there's anyone else, anything else to say? No. Thank you.
Transportation Committee, Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Transportation has nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Councillor Doyle.
On the day where I have a lot to say.
That's right.
Okay. So I'll keep this quick in case the microphones give out here, but a few things I wanted to mention. COPP in town here, that is the Citizens on Patrol program. I'm on the board there, and we're doing a big recruitment push for some volunteers. The goal of the COPP program is to be on the lookout for any suspicious or criminal activity and be able to report it to the RCMP. It's not the job of the COPP to engage with anyone. It's just an extra set of eyes and ears around the city in the middle of the night, in the evening, during the day, just kind of whenever is needed. And which leads me on to my next point here. The RCMP is having a community safety event on Wednesday, April 12th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Stride Place. COPP will have a booth there. And, you can sign up to become a recruit right there. They'll run you through a criminal record check through the RCMP. That's free of charge for anyone who wants to sign up and get the ball rolling right there and then. And the last thing I want to mention is our animal retention facility is busting at the seams. There's a lot of cats and dogs there that are looking for adoption. So if you or anyone you know is looking for a pet in your home, please contact the city.
Thank you.
And if anyone else would like to add on to my
Councillor Espy.
I just have a question about COPP. They still pay the mileage for your volunteers, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Your mileage is covered, and the mileage rate actually went up this year.
And they do residential checks, so you can actually sign up to have your property monitored while you're away on vacation?
Correct. If you're on vacation or if you are a snowbird who likes to get away in the winter, COPP will do residential checks. Don't go in your house at all, but we do drive by of your property to make sure doors are locked and nothing suspicious.
And they do have a program now that they're actually looking at businesses in the community and reporting to businesses lights out or anything that's suspicious. And COPP requests a 3-hour-a-month volunteer commitment. So not much. Thank you. Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Worship. First of all, it's really discouraging to see and to hear about that many animals in the animal retention facility. We do know that it's a no euthanized situation. I didn't want to speak too much about that. I just wanted to get the reminder out there that we have until March the 30th that the licensing for your pets or animals is free of charge if they've got their shots and so on. So that does only leave you about 4 days, but after that there is a fee charged, but it's still free up until the end of March. Am I correct in that?
Correct.
Excellent. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Nichols.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to commend on the tips that were put out in terms of your own properties, and it made me think, and that's a really good bullet that was put out, and very appreciative. I think a lot of people took note, and a reminder down the way. That's a really good program. It's just a good sight and mind piece to absolve. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to our local fire department. They attended a major fire this morning on 7th Street Southwest, where I believe a home was destroyed. Yeah. I know that everyone got out safe and sound, and you did an excellent job of making sure the neighborhood kept safe and the people who were displaced found help. So thank you for that, and kudos to your team that puts themselves in harm's way to save others. So thank you. And the committee meeting will adjourn at 6:53 p.m. Thank you, everyone.